Good evening, everybody. Thank you for your patience. Deepest apologies for the delay. This is the Citywide Council on Special Education. This is our special business meeting for Thursday, June 24th. It is now 6:43 p.m. Again, apologies for the delay. Interpretation team, can you please introduce your service and let our families know about it? Thank you. Interpretation.
Good afternoon. This is the Spanish interpretation message. Buenas tardes. Si desean interpretación en español para esta reunión, por favor llamen desde su número de teléfono al 347-966-4114 y entre el código 654-570-367, símbolo numeral. Nuevamente, su número de teléfono es 347-966-4114 y el código de conferencia es 654-570-367, símbolo numeral. Le pedimos que por favor silencie el micrófono de su teléfono para evitar ruidos de fondo. Gracias. Spanish announcement complete.
Thank you very much. Rose, can you please do roll call?
Dr. Sinai? Here. Carolyn Castro?
On her way.
Heather Daly? Here. Mark Gonzalez?
Here.
Shameen Keenan? She's
She's supposed to be on Zoom.
Tamara Reed? Moises? He's on.
Moises on Zoom.
Maggie Sanchez?
Maggie's on Zoom in the subway.
She's here.
Oh,
Esther Biasa, she's gonna be on Zoom as well.
yeah, she's on Zoom.
That's it.
Okay.
We don't have a quorum for.
We don't have a quorum. Yep, we can't vote, but we can do everything else. All right, so thank you, everybody. We are honored to have an amazing presentation tonight. We have DC Hawkins from the Division of Early Childhood Education here. We have DC Fody from the Division of Inclusive and Accessible Learning here, and their teams. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We really appreciate it. Johanna, are you leading off the presentation?
I am. Oh. Hi, everyone. My name is Johanna. Oh. I'm Johanna Rodriguez. I'm the Director of Family Support under the Division of Dial. We're really excited to be here today to speak about preschool special education, and really excited that we have our Division of Early Childhood Education here with us as well. Next slide. So our agenda for today, we are going to do our welcomes, our division introductions, and then we will get into our main topic, which is preschool special education. We'll have a short Q&A, and then we will close. Next slide. So just setting some norms for tonight. Your voice matters. Respectful communication is key tonight, as we have many teams represented here today. And so respect will be key tonight, but your voice does matter. We are going to talk big picture today. So we're going to talk systematic issues and solutions. Be mindful of time. We do have a hard cutoff at 7:30. We did start a little late, so we may will possibly stay 10 more minutes. We will collaborate together. You will hear a lot of issues and solutions we're thinking, and so we really are leaning heavily on our teams, as we do for our CCSEs, who represent many families, to really think through solutions together. And of course, as every month, I remind everyone, we do not speak about student-specific or school-specific issues. We will drop our emails in the chat. If there's anything that comes up, school-specific or student-specific, you all can email us at those email inboxes. Next slide. So in the beginning, when we were thinking about, or the CCSE had contacted both teams to present, we received many, many questions regarding special education, preschool, and all the above. And what you will hear tonight is we saw 4 main trends within these questions. You will hear the 4 main trends that we will focus on tonight is transitions across agencies, a rise in need, service shortages, and needed program support. So based on all the questions which you see on your screens is how we put together this presentation for tonight. So as our presenters are presenting, they will be answering each of these questions that were provided from the council. And so we are really excited. I will not take any more time, and I'll introduce my fearless leader of DIAL, Deputy Chancellor Christina Foti, so we can begin.
And can everybody online still hear? Great. So delighted to be with you. I'm Christina Foti. I know many of you, but for those of you I have not met, I would look forward to connecting with you. I'm so sorry for the setup in this room. I feel extraordinarily uncomfortable having people behind us. But know that our full attention and respect is with all of you. I'm joined here today by so many of our incredible colleagues. John Hammer, my deputy, is here. Greg Daniel, our chief of staff. Suzanne Sanchez, our wonderful chief of special education. We have Chief Corso behind us, who oversees District 75 and provides support to our superintendents. Jessica Wallenstein is online, and Jessica Wallenstein is the head of our CSEs, our committees on special education, which also include our committees on preschool special education. You'll be hearing from her today. Thank you, Jessica, for being with us. We also have Temi Fasayo, who is our citywide chairperson on preschool special education. Fabiana is with us, our chairperson of CPSE 10. Thank you, Fabiana, for being with us. And of course, you've met the wonderful Johanna Rodriguez. I am so honored and delighted to introduce to you my esteemed colleague and friend, Deputy Chancellor Simone Hawkins, who has done incredible work in a very, very short amount of time to move the work of the Division of the Early Childhood forward. I cannot ask for a better partner in our work, DC Hawkins, and I truly feel her commitment and her team's commitment to improving outcomes for children every day. And that includes all children, including students with disabilities and multilingual learners. That should be the norm, but has not always been the norm. And so I am very proud to say that is definitively the norm in our partnership. And so thank you, DC Hawkins, for sharing that. And I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, DC Foti. Oh, thank you. Us curly girls want to stick together, right? I too am delighted, and I'm so sorry. Thank you, Lord. Also delighted to be here tonight. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for my team needs to present and collaborate this conversation. I just want to say everything that DC Foti shared is definitely mutual and reciprocal. And so I'm entire team have continued to show up as partners in this work. As we do navigate some really rocky water, and I think some of that is going to come ahead tonight, and we're talk through that along with my legal team. And so I have the privilege of introducing the dynamic rep who are joining us tonight in the Division of Early Childhood Education, also referred to as CCSE. You'll see that through and through. So I have our chief of staff, and again, sorry for the setup. You can't see all the friendly faces, but my chief of staff, Jeff Klein, is here in space. Our chief of learning and partnership, Dr. Georgette Branch, and just as a preface, she manages all of our learning and partnership work. And most of the presenters today partner with Georgette under her vertical. We have our chief of capacity building and family engagement, Simon Hooks. We also have our director of capacity building and deputy senior director of capacity building and family engagement, Michael Greenberg. He is joining us virtually. Also virtual is one of our amazing leadership coaches, social worker by training, Virginia Cortez. Did I get cut off? Oh, I'm good. We also have another one of our leadership coaches who really leans in on the instructional side of the work, Dr. Shaquana Wright-Chung, also virtual with us. Cheryl Gelber is one of our amazing inclusion specialists who serves on the small but mighty team of inclusion transition specialist. And then Melissa Franco, who is one of our fierce champions, and she serves as an early intervention transition coordinator.
All right, I'll take the mic. Can you all hear me? Great. So good to see everyone online, and I'm sorry that I cannot be there in person today. I have my preschooler here with me, being babysat by wonderful TV shows. So hopefully there will be no distractions in the background, but wanted to note that in advance in case you see any little hands popping up onto the screen. I'm just going to start by giving a very brief overview of the landscape in which we are all working on these important issues. So this slide presents where preschool students with IEPs or preschool students with disabilities are served. So we are now at about 32,000 preschoolers with IEPs from year to year. And 43% of them, which is about 14,000, are attending 3K and pre-K programs. And as I'm sure you know, that includes a diversity of programs in the Division of Early Childhood's portfolio. So we're talking about public programs in District 1 through 32 elementary schools, standalone pre-K centers, as well as many contracted community-based organizations that are all part of the 3K and pre-K portfolio. The vast majority of this, still on that slide, the vast majority of the students in those 3K and pre-K programs with IEPs have services that follow them to whatever program it is that they apply to or offered a seat in, and then the family accepts. So these are children who may be recommended on their IEP for speech therapy or occupational therapy or an itinerant teacher. We do, however, have about 2,000 seats in 3K and pre-K programs that are for students with more intensive needs. So we have self-contained classes and integrated classes in that 43% as well. Another 28%, about 9,000 students, are in state-approved non-public special education programs. Those are sometimes known as 4410s. And if you've never heard of that, don't worry about it. And those are children who all of them are in need of those self-contained classes and integrated classes, and that is what their IEPs dictate. And then we have another 9,000 students who are not in any enrollment system known to us. They are in private schools that are outside of the 3K and pre-K portfolio, or they're at home because not all 3- and 4-year-olds are attending preschool. And those students are all receiving itinerant services like related services and see it. And the reason why I'm calling out these differences is to note that the way you enter into each of these quadrants is different. And so for students attending 3K and pre-K programs with itinerant services, they're going through the My Schools platform administered by the Office of Student Enrollment. But those students with more intensive needs who need self-contained special classes or integrated classes are actually placed by the committees on preschool special education, which are housed within DIAL. So it is a bit of a bifurcated system where for students who need specialized programs, they are placed by CCSEs, whereas students who have less need are going through the general enrollment process. And I know that first question that was submitted is really, hooking onto this, and there are challenges in that difference. And I think the notion of there being a little bit more alignment is a great one, and something that, I think we should absolutely talk more about, and something we certainly are exploring centrally about how we can better align enrollment processes, but did want to, be very transparent about our current state in this landscape. All right, let's go to the next slide. So given that complexity and given other factors as well, there's a number of areas where we know we need to improve. It starts from the beginning. It starts with our youngest ones. So for children birth through age 3, if they have developmental needs, they are served through the Department of Health's early intervention program. And the person who submitted the question around the transition from early intervention into DOE services is spot on. That is such a challenging moment for families. They're often dealing with a diagnosis for the first time. And at age 3, their early intervention services terminate unless they have had a preschool evaluation and an IEP meeting prior to that 3rd birthday. Without that, there can be a gap in service. And so this is an area that we're working to address over the past 7 years, we've established a really strong partnership with the Department of Health. And in just a few moments, my colleagues from the Division of Early Childhood are going to speak a little bit about direct support we provide to families going through that transition. Another area where we see a real need is just in the fact that our population looks different. Prior to COVID, the number of students every year with IEPs in preschool was about 30,000. We're now at about 32,000. And we've not necessarily gotten the resources to match that additional need. We're also seeing that the intensity of needs among that student population is greater because we know some of those families stayed home quarantined rather than going to the Department of Health's early intervention program. Related to that, we're seeing more students, so we're also seeing shortages. We know that there's a national shortage of related service providers, so speech therapists, occupational therapists, and the like that have not kept pace with the rise of need. And we also need those providers to do evaluations. So we are aware of the long wait times that some families experience when it comes to evaluations, especially those who need bilingual. And then once families are evaluated, our CPSE administrators have very large caseloads, which prevent them from providing as much hands-on support as we all wish they could for every family. And we're going to talk about what we are doing in light of these resource scarcities. And finally, I know there was a question in there about programs and that there's not enough programs to serve all the students, particularly those who need the self-contained classes. And then as students are waiting for a program seat or even waiting for an evaluation, they could be in a gen ed setting, right? They could be in a community-based organization in the 3K pre-K portfolio or a public school. And those programs might need support in serving students with intense needs. And we're gonna share today some of the supports they get. So with that, we can go to the next slide. We're going to talk about the solutions that we're implementing. And we know that even with the solutions we're about to share with you, there's still a lot of work to do. And we're sharing this to really start a conversation. And as we talk, really look forward to hearing in the chat and in the Q&A at the end, what else we can be thinking of and what refinements we can be putting on these solutions to make them really impactful. So we're going to start from the beginning. I'm going to pass it to the wonderful Millie Franco from Early Childhood to talk about the early intervention transition team.
Thank you so much, Jessica. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. So one of the steps that the New York City Public Schools have taken to improve the transition from early intervention to CPSE is the creation of the EI transition team, which I am happy to be this transition coordinator for. And we have been providing support to families citywide since 2020. So our team has two main goals. One is to limit the disruption in services as children move from early intervention to preschool, and two, to help families access more inclusive preschool options so that every child has the ability and opportunity to thrive. So transition coordinators are here specifically to support families, especially those families who may need a little bit of extra help. So some of the families that we work directly with include families in the foster care system, families living in temporary housing, families whose children are considered automatically eligible for early intervention due to a specific diagnosis or specific conditions, and families whose primary language may not be English. So we connect with families in a few different ways. So one of the ways is proactively reaching out once a child is referred to the Committee on Preschool Special Education, CPSE. So this happens when a signed notification or referral form is submitted by the child's early intervention service coordinator. So with this step, we become one of the first teams that families do actually have contact with. We also help by responding to questions that come in through our helpline and email inbox. So our helpline and email inbox is open to all preschool families with and without disabilities. If they have any questions, we are always happy to help. And then also as acting as a bridge between early intervention regional offices and the CPSEs. I'm happy to say that we do have really great relationships with early interventions. We are able to assist in many different situations. And then also by hosting information sessions and workshops for families and our partners, both inside and outside of New York City Public Schools. So we are definitely inviting all of you. Please, please, please help us to spread the word about our team, share our information with any families that are in need of guidance, both in early intervention and out. We are more than happy to answer questions and be of assistance. So we're going to place our one pager that includes our contact information in the chat. And I am also more than happy to answer any questions about our team that you may have. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to the lovely Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Millie. Good evening. I'm so happy to be here with you and alongside my wonderful colleagues. My name is Virginia Cortez, and I am one of the leadership coaches. And I am also, as DC Hawkins mentioned, a social worker by training. And I'm here to share a little bit about our programmatic support. Our DECE program support team collaborates with early childhood programs across New York City to deliver tailored support that meets the unique needs of every classroom. Our team is comprised of leadership coaches, instructional coordinators, social workers, and inclusion specialists. You'll be hearing from our inclusion specialist colleague in a little bit. We focus on building strong, trusting relationships with teaching teams, program leaders, families, caregivers, and community partners. That is a value that we hold, and it is a goal that we continue to work on for ourselves because we value those relationships so deeply. Our work centers on building those strong, inclusive learning environments by implementing proactive, strengths-based strategies that promote social emotional development and high-quality instruction. Through side-by-side collaboration, modeling, and coaching, our professional learning activities align staff efforts, enhance professional capacity, and create cohesive systems that support growth and impact. That's just a little bit about our team and some of the ways in which we support programs across New York City. And I'm so happy to be here with you and looking forward to the continued partnership and collaboration. I am going to pass it to my colleague, Cheryl Gelber.
Thank you, Virginia. Good evening, everybody. My name is Cheryl Gelber, and I'm one of the inclusion specialists on the DECE Inclusion Support Team. I'm going to spend a few minutes to speak a little bit about the work that our team does to support programs. But first, just some background. The Inclusion Support Team, or as we say, the IST, is a team of special educators located at the DECE office, and we support programs citywide. Our team was created in the spring of 2022 with the goal to make inclusion more systemic across all of our 3K and pre-K programs. In doing this, our hope is that we're helping to ensure that children with disabilities, as well as those suspected as having disabilities, are indeed being served in their least restrictive environment. You'll see listed here 5 keywords that I hope helps represent our work. The first word is partner. We strive very much to create partnerships across multiple teams. This can include partnerships with CPSE, the DECE support teams, as Virginia mentioned, DECE leaders, professional learning teams, just to name a few. The next word, collaborate. Through these partnerships with teams, we collaborate so that we can expand our reach and have an aligned and coordinated approach to supporting inclusion. This is often done through various models of professional learning activities. I know that was some of the questions that were sent. And some of these professional learning activities can include things like technical assistance, consultation, coaching, collaborative problem solving, and targeted trainings. The next 2 keywords you see here are promote and increase. Together, we aim to promote strong inclusive environments and increase inclusive practices across all of our programs. And thus, the last word you see here is build. Build the inclusion capacity of the DECE workforce. In the next slide, I'll elaborate a little bit more about our work. So the IST's primary focus is on the 2 items that you see here. promoting strong inclusive environments, and increasing inclusive practices. To provide a little clarity on what that means, a strong inclusive environment is an environment and a mindset of inclusion where every family and child feel that they belong. One way that our teams encourage programs to do this is by supporting them to partner with families to make collaborative decisions about what supports are needed so that every child can get what they need to make meaningful gains. And the second focus here is increasing inclusive practices. This means that programs are encouraged and supported to embed the defining features of inclusion, which are access, participation, and support, and the practices that promote them. And some of these practices, you may be familiar with some of them, are UDL, Universal Design for Learning, assistive technology, tiered systems of support, embedded intervention, collaboration, just to name a few. And so I'd like to share just a couple scenarios to help color this in a little bit more and provide examples of how we support this. The first example is that this school year, we provided professional learning to all of our leadership coaches, instructional coordinators, and social workers on the key principles of inclusion and these inclusive practices. And the goal of this PL was really to align our programs and our support teams with a unified understanding of inclusion and how each of our roles can support inclusive practices, as well as be able to turnkey this knowledge to the programs to help build their inclusion capacity. We've trained over 300 professionals who are working on the ground directly supporting programs, and we know that this work is not done, and so our goal for next year is really to continue to strengthen this work. And then another example of how we can support the work is that we have done some partnerships with leadership coaches and CPSE administrators. They have helped to identify when there's a need for additional support of a program due to maybe a student with an IEP not yet having their services in place or maybe awaiting a placement. And so in these instances, they'll reach out to our team to request support, and that's where we'll assign an inclusion specialist to work with them. And that person will collaborate with the team to determine and really co-create supports and strategies and potentially professional learning activities that would be helpful to support the student, the program, and the family while waiting for those services. So these are just a couple ways in which we're supporting programs to help meet the needs of all of the students and families. Thank you, and I'm going to pass it back to Jessica.
Thanks so much, Cheryl, and everyone from the Division of Early Childhood. It's good to hear about all the work that is happening for students, even before they're necessarily referred, when they're in general education programs, but in need of support, and those that have been referred and are in need of support. I'm going to transition a little bit now to focusing on the students who have IEPs. And I know that the council is very interested in our ability to meet the need for seats. And we are so proud of the work that took place this year. And it was in partnership with many of the folks who I know who are in the room and were tremendous advocates for significant funding of $55 million that enabled us to open over 660 special education program seats this year in elementary schools and in pre-K centers. And again, those are the seats for students with more severe needs who need a self-contained setting or an integrated setting. Some of these seats, we only got clearance to open in the middle of the year. So they've not necessarily been able to hire up. So we will have more opening, bringing us to over 700 in September, which will set us up to be able to offer a seat to all students who need them in the fall. In addition, we are continuing to work across the entire special ed preschool portfolio, so the public sites as well as the contracted programs, by offering the contract enhancement, which has enabled us to pay contracted providers a little bit more so they can pay their teachers more, hire more, and hopefully open more classes. And over time, this work will continue where we are working to right-size the portfolio and ensure that in districts where we still anticipate need, that we are able to fill that gap. Okay, next slide. In addition to actual seats, we know there's also very much a need for evaluation capacity and IEP capacity and service capacity. And this is an area where we are really doing all that we can with our current resources and really trying to stretch them as far as they can possibly go. So to that end, we do have 21 in-house evaluation teams, so not contracted agency evaluators, but housed within the CPSE. And we were able to stand up a per session activity that allowed us to extend their hours, and that enabled us to do many, many more evaluations this past year. We also extended CPSE hours so they could hold more IEP meetings. And then we're working with our CPSEs. Our citywide goal is to ensure consistent practice across the city. And so we provided in-depth, in-person training at every CPSE around our expectations for what every CPSE administrator is doing before, during, and after an IEP meeting. This is work that will be ongoing. We know one training experience, no matter how deep it is not going to change a system, but we are always striving towards that consistency and high quality engagement. And then related to both of these above, we implemented a new data system this year. It's called Atlas. And this replaced a decades old system. And with it, we are finally able to create IEPs electronically and track where students are in the evaluation process. Prior to this, a family would submit a referral, and then we would not centrally have much information on that family until it was time for their IEP meeting. We can actually now see where students are in progressing through the process, and our community coordinators can do outreach to families. It has been a challenging transition to the new data system, and I think over time, as our teams get more and more used to it, we will start reaping the benefits and the efficiencies that will free up our team's time to work directly with families. On the related service front, we know that we are not where we want to be in providing related services for every preschooler with an IEP. Again, we are stretching all of our current resources as far as we possibly can go. The Office of Related Services and the Special Ed Office offers Weekend Academy. So when we have trouble finding providers to serve during the school day, we will offer Weekend Academy sites for families. For families that have either 12-month IEPs or had a significant gap in service over the course of the year due to the shortages, we offer them summer-related service sites. And then looking ahead, I believe we've talked about this in prior meetings. We're putting out an innovative RFP that is really going to focus on incentivizing providers to work with preschoolers, because that we know is a particularly challenging area given how spread out the portfolio of preschool programs are. And that is currently going through the PEP process. Since that will not be in place for September, we are renewing the current related service contracts at higher rates, which we also we hope will incentivize service. So a lot more work to do in all of these areas, and this is just some of the things that we wanted to share with you that are underway. All right, with that, I will pass it back to Joanna. Oh no, there's one more. Just wanted to share some resources that are family facing, because we do understand that navigating this landscape is quite complex. So we have an entire webpage around preschool special education. It's called Moving to Preschool. Within that, there are some guides that can be, printed. There's one that's generally about preschool special ed, and then there's one that is specifically about the transition from early intervention to preschool and CPSE. Also linking the Department of Health's EI website, the CSE's website, where we have every CSE's inbox, our general inbox, and then the Head Start 3K and pre-K websites. And I will drop all of these in the chat as well, so you have them. Now I'll pass it to you, Johanna.
Thank you so much, Jessica and DC Hawkins team for presenting. So as I said in the beginning, this presentation really was put together based on the questions that were submitted to us from the council. And so, Mark, I know in the beginning I said 7:30, but we did start 10 minutes late. So we'll be here till 7:40 to answer questions. As a reminder, as I said in the beginning, any individual situations such as student names, school names, please email specialeducation@schools.nyc.gov. And I know my colleague Jessica will put that in the chat. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, everybody, for that presentation. All right, we're going to start with questions from council. We're going to limit questions to 1 minute so we can get through, because we have a lot of families here that I presume want to ask questions as well. So council members, one question, 1 minute, then we'll loop around. If you have second questions, we'll let everyone else go first. So any questions from the council?
Have questions, and I'll pass the question to you. I got more than, I need more than a minute.
Yeah, I'm gonna yield my time.
Speak on somebody.
Okay. Community questions? Is there anyone from the community who has any questions? Anyone? Okay, Shania, why don't you start with your first question then?
So in your presentation, you talked about the early intervention transition team that supports families as they transition from early intervention to CPSE. One of the things you said is once you receive a referral. So is it only through a referral that a family is able to get access to this team to help guide them through? Or, for instance, if you have a program that has a toddler program with 2-year-olds in it that DOE funds, those kids may come in with EI services, but the school doesn't necessarily have access to helping them transition. Some families come in with EI services and they're in a program where they're getting services. Others have had an evaluation, has an ISFP, but there's no services. And so they're at the school, the child has an ISFP, but have never got services. So there is no early intervention coordinator from Department of Health to transition them to you. But they've ended up in this community-based program with their 2-year-old with an ISFP, and they're about to age out, right? And so the kid either is getting limited services or no services. How does a family get access to you if they don't have an agency they're working with EI services? Because some kids come in with an ISFP, but no, for whatever reasons, the same like you, they didn't have providers, they didn't have anything, so the family's just been without. But the kid has clearly a diagnosis. So if the only way they get in contact is through their agency, what other ways have you provided, or have you thought about that, to provide those families who are coming into your center-based programs with access so that they don't lose the continuity of services?
So for the early intervention transition team, our helpline and our email inbox is open to all families. It's not just specific to families who are receiving early intervention. If there is a family who is in need of understanding of the process, in need of help with understanding how to request a referral or any type of information, we are always more than happy to give them that information, to guide them on the process, to help them connect to the correct CPSE in order to request that evaluation, and then also to help just guide with any questions or any connections that they may need to make. We are more than happy to help them. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Is that the helpline, the 646-389-7171?
Yes.
I think to your question too is, I think you mentioned that this child is enrolled in one of our contracted programs. That is a touch point. And so anybody in that program, may it be the program leader, the instructional team, the classroom staff, can either in conversation with a leadership coach, an IC, a social worker who enters as a support for that site, or you can contact the EI team directly. But that organization can reach out to us as well and make the handoff and connection with the family on behalf of the family.
So we said that this meeting is about solution focus. So one of the things I'm going to say to you is tonight was the first time I've ever heard of that team. I've been running an early intervention program for several years. So what I'm saying is maybe there's a disconnect, because even though I have a great leadership coach, social worker, and instructional coordinator, they have never shared that information, that there's a hotline, that there's a way to connect. Because of my own resources, I'm able to do it, but I'm thinking of other programs or other families who this is the first time I've even heard of such a team, right? And so if it's the first time I've heard of it, there has got to be other programs who don't have that information. When those instructional coordinators come out, we do not get a packet with all that great stuff you guys talked about. So there's never a connection. So if we're going to be solution focused, our suggestion is the trainings that you give to your instructional coach, leadership coach, maybe those trainings should hit directly to the sites, because half of the things you mentioned tonight is the first time I'm ever hearing of it.
And so I appreciate that. So I think clearly this opportunity is an opportunity to get the word out. So it's a step in the right direction. We also send out policy updates, so that's another opportunity that we can get information out. Now, do people read those emails?
I do.
Thank you. I'm so appreciative and grateful for that. But that is another opportunity. And I think as we enter into the upcoming school year, when we are introducing our DEC support team to folks, may it be returning or new relationships that are budding, we can introduce this and make it clear kind of our array of resources. So thank you.
Along with this, how people do it. So getting email with people's names and information doesn't always help you understand what the process is. And depending on people's variation, because I do have a variation, sometimes you may have to give directors, like, you can call this person or this office, because now we're very impersonal. Everything is an email. You no longer speak to human beings. So I'm just making a suggestion that not only give the information, but maybe there's a step, like a checklist process, so that directors will know what it looks like. Because the state and DOE doesn't always speak the same language when you're trying to transition families. So that would just be a suggestion I would give. Can
That's
I
helpful. Mark, I wanted to add, if you can. Thank you so much. And that's a helpful point, and I appreciate you raising that, because one of the things that one of the Johanna mentioned at the top, themes and threads, right? And one of the themes and threads I think that we've heard this school year, certainly the second half of the year, is that there is good work out there and there are supports and people, but that as an agency, we have to do a better job of getting this out to our community partners and certainly including our families. So that is heard, and that is something we have been working on and are going to continue to prioritize as we enter the next school year. Being stronger, being more adept and agile at getting all the information out to families and stakeholders, that is helpful to you all. So thank you for that point again.
I want to ask you questions. I got some.
I don't, I'm gonna yield my questions today. Thank you.
Should go, I got a couple, but go ahead. Okay. Should like, Jessica, you mentioned on slide 16 that, and I'll quote you, stretching all of our current resources was a phrase you used. What does that mean? Does that mean we don't have the funding? We don't have the staffing? We can't find the providers? What do you mean by stretching all of our current resources?
You know, it means that, you know, of course, we could always use more staff, more funding, given the increased need that we have seen and the increased intensity of need. As I said, our CCSE administrators' caseloads are much larger than is ideal for the kind of support we want to provide families. And we're not where we want to be when it comes to providing every service on the IEP for every single student. So we absolutely are facing shortages across the country. But even with those shortages, we would absolutely benefit from additional funding.
How much money do we need to be able to get the staffing, to be able to get the CPSE caseloads at an appropriate level, to be able to provide all the services? What are we talking dollar-wise annually that we need baseline? If you don't have that now, can we get that at some point, please?
Yeah, we can absolutely follow up with specifics, and I'll pass it to, it looks like Christina might have something to share here.
You know, Mark and I spoke very transparently before the meeting because we wanted to make sure it was as successful as possible. And so we brought with one of the things that Mark, you asked very directly for was to bring information on with these numbers and what the resource needs are. And so Jessica, I want to feel free to go ahead and you know, AFC, who is here today, thank you, has done an incredibly good job, beyond good job at pushing the needle. And so one of the things that we're always often stuck with is the fact that the needs are growing and the resources necessarily aren't commensurate with the needs. And that has been true. That was true before pre-K for all. It's true. It was true at the start of pre-K for all, and it's still true now. and the needs have just increased. And when we think about pre-K for all at its inception, and I've testified at many hearings about this, pre-K for all special education needs were not really considered. We were going to rely on the 4410 funding structures as to be the source of special education funding. Well, the 4410 fundings alone is not going to do the trick. We see that, we are living that, our kids are living that, our families are living that. So since then, we've been, with the help of partners like you all and AFC, we've been incrementally adding in the funding structures that we need to be able to support all students. As we add in those funding structures, the needs, unfortunately, though, continue to increase as they are nationally. We see the autism rates are growing beyond what any of us could really conceive to be the case, and the needs are more significant of the students. And so, Mark, that's a very long-winded way of saying, AFC has clearly outlined in many publications or many places our overall ask. It's about $73 million. And that would include our prac team expansion, our integrated related service providers, a need that was never really funded for us to be able to provide related service in our integrated classrooms, the related service itinerant team, and the CPSE staffing needs. And so we stand by that ask. Of course, not all of these people would be hired in 1 year. And so whenever we do asks, we want to be very clear that this would be incremental growth, right? And so while we are projecting that is the full need, we continue to advocate on all fronts for we will gladly accept whatever increment of that comes our way, and we will make the most of it. When Jessica says, what does it, when we ask, what does it mean to make the most of it? If we were to go back to one of those slides, you'll see that our people are working after hours, that we're paying them to work after hours. We're paying them to work on the weekends. We are recently opened Sunday related service sites. So we are asking people to work 7 days a week. That's what the resources we have. We are, Jessica, I will just say one last thing about Jessica. Jessica took over the CSEs. And as somebody who's been doing this for 11 years, I have never seen anyone make more of what we have than Jessica Wallenstein. And so I really want to publicly acknowledge you, Jessica, because when you talk about 11 CSEs citywide and the thousands of children that are being served, it requires an eagle eye to be able to make sure that caseloads and case management is happening the way that we want it to happen. Is it perfect? No way, not even close. Do our kids have what we want them to have? Absolutely not. In some cases they do. And in some cases we hear from parents about how extraordinary their experience has been. And we delight and relish in that, but clearly we are not going to stop until that is everyone's experience. And so, Mark, I promised you the numbers. Those are the numbers. And we're going to continue to push for it. I just would also say lastly, let's continue to have this conversation. And I also just want to really say that people in this room are the people who are burning up about this every day too. And they're doing everything they can possibly to make all of this happen. And so I just want to really honor the fact that they take many, many, many hits. But these people wake up every morning storming in this door to make things as good as possible for kids and families with what they have. And so I'll stop talking, but just wanted to really share that.
Thank you. Thank you. And Jessica, thank you. And I'll just add
Mark,
on to
can
that.
I just jump in and just
Of course, Jessica.
briefly just want to add and thank you, Christina, for those words. And thank you to Advocates for Children, who I know are in the room, for putting out that proposal with the 70+ million number. When we think about what we can hire, it is a significant chunk that we would appreciate, and that brings us closer to 48 million. That would enable us to make real change in 1 year, if we were to start with that and then ramp up to the 70. So just wanted to put that out there.
No, thank you. And then just so everyone's aware, I was in a meeting with Betty Rosa, who's Education Commissioner for State of New York. She heard from a lot of 4410 providers in that meeting about the need for additional state funding. That is state legislation. It's above and beyond the 73 million that DC Fody and Jessica mentioned as well. So there's additional state funding necessary with that, and the state knows, but we need legislative help on that. Dr. Kent and I heard, we have some testimony. So if you'd like to provide testimony, if you could please come up to the seat over here. Again, if you can please limit it. And please do not give personally identifiable information when
Okay.
you testify.
Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Shakoya Jones. I come in the perspective of a parent who has a child who is autistic and deaf. He attends American School for the Deaf in Hartford, Connecticut. That was a process in itself to get a Nickerson letter. But I also come as a teacher of 25 years of early childhood education. And it saddens me that my son is 15 and the same things I'm going through with my students currently, I did the whole process with my own 15-year-old. So I do thank everyone for the progress we have seen. But this school year, I've seen a child disservice. He came to us in 3K. He needed services. Mom can't work a full-time job. He need a restrictive environment. The teachers don't have the resources. We've been advocating for 2 years just to get an evaluation. They evaluated him, but they had no power, no one-to-one. They sent a para on the 9th day closing our school year. We started this fight and when he was in UPK 3, he is going to kindergarten in September. And they finally sent services on Monday, June 16th. And the last day of school is Thursday, June 26th. He will now have had a para for 9 days when we've been fighting for services for 2 years. So although everyone is working tirelessly, it's just disheartening as a parent who had a child, and I had to fight in a pandemic to get him into American School for the Deaf. He's 15 years old, but there should be some progress, you see. This child has sat in our school since last school year. We reached out. Mom is a young parent. Mom was given the runaround. No one answered the phone. Mom can't work a full-time job. They came out for the evaluation. They came during times of transition. So you don't get to see the child in his natural environment. It was just a system that failed this little boy. And I see this disparity in the children we serve in Harlem that are of color. Because my child that goes to American School for the Deaf, it's sad that I gotta take him out his community to get the services and put him in another state, have New York City pay for him. Why can't we give him that in New York City? Why do I have to send him to a boarding school? So that's the same for the students I'm serving. I've been doing this 25 years as an early childhood educator, but I have experience from my own son. And I feel the system sometimes is set to discourage families and make you feel as if you don't have the power. And if you lack education and you don't have someone to advocate, the struggles can be overwhelming. And as a parent, we all just want what's best for our children. We shouldn't have to put them on a school bus and send them to White Plains, New York School for the Deaf. Or we shouldn't have to take them and bus them an hour. We should be able to get services in our community, and our teachers should get the support they need to support our children so they don't have to be bused. I have autism. I can't sit an hour just to go get the appropriate set. It should be offered in my community. But I thank you all for your work, but I hope that some progress is made and that y'all will remember that teachers need support. We need training, because if you didn't go to school for special ed education, you don't really have the tools to be as successful and meet the student where the student is. So we need support, families need support, and children need y'all to help continue to build a bridge so that they can cross over. But what they don't need is people not answering the phone, working from home, and sending emails. They need personal contact. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
I'm Tamika Pearsall. I'm a parent at the Chloe Day School, and I just wanted to share my experience. My daughter is not on the spectrum with IEP, but is in the classroom with children that are, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because there are not any teacher aides that are educated or trained to handle the behavioral issues that the children have in order to combat what's happening in the classroom. So as a result, my daughter and other children in the classroom that don't have special needs are having to wait to be taught, wait for lunch to happen, or wait for the next activity to occur because there's a child that's having an issue in the moment or at the time, or there's a transition that's happening that they're not comfortable with. So with that being said, if there were more people that were trained that were, a teacher aide that was in the classroom that could combat that or work with that, it would definitely impact the students' situation a whole lot better. I know that my daughter has come home and has regressed slightly in behavior because she's seen, like, if it's okay for other kids to, talk out of turn, or it's okay for other kids to hit, then it's okay for me to do the same. And that's not what we want in the classroom, like, from a physical standpoint for the kids, and for them to see that kind of behavior and think that it's okay. But if there's someone that's trained in the room that has the opportunity to say, you know what, this is not what we do, and is educated on how to accompany the child or to handle that situation, it would definitely be super impactful. We all leave our front doors and go into the world, and the world is what we have to experience with one another. So my expectation is that we are experiencing that with everyone that's in the world, but how do we help everyone move forward? Because in a situation where a child is not getting what they need in that kind of environment, then what happens with their behavior? What happens to the parent? What's happening, with the home connection? It's just not happening. And sadly enough, they're going to just be processed through the system. And as Dr. Canton and some of the other parents have said, like, they'll be aged out of the program and, okay, you're going to kindergarten, and then what happens next? The same thing is going to repeat again. And I want to thank everyone here for your tireless effort and hours of dedication and everything that you're doing. But I just wanted you to be able to hear, just from the other side of the spectrum, what's happening, because then I have to now take the opportunity to now speak to my child, or, educate her, like, oh, this is what you may be seeing, but this is not what we do. And, the direction is coming from different areas. So I just wanted to share that for you guys to just understand there's another side of the spectrum that's happening as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much for your time
Thank you.
and for your efforts.
Thank you.
Anyone else with this one?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Miss Tinsley. I have a daughter. Her name is True Blessing. She's now 4 years old. She initially became part of CPSE at the age of turning into from 2 to 3. So she was aging out of early intervention. She has cerebral palsy. I would just backtrack. She was premature. She was born at 1 pound, 10 ounces, 27 weeks. She was very healthy, but she suffered medical malpractice in the NICU. So she wasn't discharged until she was almost 6 months. We had services through St. Mary's Home Care, and we didn't get any early intervention until she was 2.5. I didn't find out she had a brain injury until she was 15 months. I didn't find out she had cerebral palsy until she was 22 months. I didn't find out she had seizures until she was 2. So my daughter has had many delays, lack of services from the beginning. So I would just say what I have written here. My daughter, True Blessing, whom transitioned from early intervention to CPSE during the winter of 2024. In July of 2024, my daughter had her initial CPSE review, evaluations, IEP evaluation, and her tour of her special needs school. That was the only school that was offered to us. We toured the school in July. In October, I completed and turned in her application. In November, I denied her seat. I denied her seat because of lack of communication by the school administration team and the lack of communication through our CPSE administrator. Until I connected with Advocates for Children, did I start being heard and helped. My daughter is now 4. She's not enrolled in any school. She doesn't have a seat. She only receives speech services through CPSE, and she is required to have 3 times 30 of speech, OT, physical therapy, and vision services.
Also would say that my daughter has a cortical vision impairment. She has strabismus, so she wears eyeglasses, and I'm not sure if she can actually see as well as I would expect her to, but she's not getting any services to help her with her vision. I had been denied a seat by my CPSE administrator. When I asked her about a seat, she told me that seats don't like going to the homes. Until I spoke with an Advocates for Children representative, she initiated the request for a seat, and right then, the ball was rolling. Now we have a seat. Advocate for Children assisted with many of our services. Now she was getting speech therapy outside at a local, I would say, children's location that serves CPSE students. We just initially stopped because the speech therapist told me that she doesn't think that my daughter will ever speak verbally, and that she will not be teaching her or supporting her in speaking verbally. She will only be supporting her in communicating through devices because she doesn't think she'll ever talk. So I initiated and canceled services. The only services we are receiving now is the SEED. She comes for 1 hour, 5 days a week. She's also interested in serving summer program for her as well too. The last time I spoke to my CPSE administrator was in April. So thank you for having me here today to express my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We are at 7:43, so we are gonna have to wrap up this part of it. We will still have more testimony in a few minutes and more questions, but I know we have leadership that has to go to other meetings. So I'd like to say for the DOE staff, thank you. We appreciate your service to our community, for our families, and for our other teachers and staff as well. It is greatly appreciated. Yes.
I understand they gotta run out the door and they gotta leave. But what I wanna say is this, if we're gonna make a solution focused situation, these are real people lives. And I just want you to understand, some of these people I know that in Harlem, I do a lot of advocacy work. Some I help, some I don't. But what you need to understand is when you have these great presentations, we gave y'all 20 minutes to talk about all the great work you do. But I want you to see where your holes are. Where those same providers you talked about, how they railroad and sometimes misguide them. How sometimes the communication of your good intentions, because I know you're working hard, doesn't always connect at the ground level. And so we're going to move forward, not only as a person who has sat on this council for over 2 years, advocating across the city, but as a director, as a mother of 4 children with a variation and a person with a variation, I'm solution focused, right? The only thing I want you to understand is that when you say you have 21 in-house CPS teams, when those teams are meeting with these families and telling them, no, I'm not going to give you speech, not because the child doesn't need it, but because you don't have a provider, because you don't want to then have to be penalized later with an IEP with kids not receiving services, is an injustice. And so I just want to make sure that that's my argument. Right, you got 21 teams, but we have 8 kids on a wait list because we were told you're just overbooked, right? So it's great to have 21 teams, but if families can't get to it, that's a problem. And so it's great to come in. I thank you for coming in for the hour, but every day I'm dealing with real lives. And I know you are too, and we all are busting out behind, but we just have to find a way to bridge the gaps. And I thank you for coming. I am not here to be combative, but I am here to save lives. That's all I would say.
Thank you. The passion the families have is the same passion I know the DOE leadership and
Yes.
all the staff has. It's a mutual passion we have. We come in at it from different angles, but we're all fighting for the same thing, which is all the kids in this community. And it is appreciated, and I thank all of you for that. So we're gonna wrap up this section. We're gonna wrap up this section for now.
Thank you. And I think any of the families that are here today, I would please ask you if you're willing to leave your information with Johanna. We will be following up with you tomorrow. And making sure that we do all that we can to support coordinating services.
And I will actually follow that by saying, before I was a DC, I'm a mother and an aunt. Okay, and so I relate, I understand the passion. I understand the urgency, and we all share in that urgency. And I think what Mark shared is spot on, that we are all trying to turn this huge ship together, right? And so we have to do it cautiously and thoughtfully, but shit has to change. And I want to say that we are in full agreement. And so keep pushing us to steer the ship in a better direction. We need those voices. We need your stories. We need your advocacy, and we need your fight. And that we is not just us in this room, it's those who are also not in this room. But please rest assured you have fighters alongside you. We are in constant communication with advocates for children, and we will always get a smile from Randy and Betty, but they don't play either. And so we are clear about the assignment, and we are ready, and we are working hard and supportive of this work every day. And so you have that commitment from us.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, team.
Thank you, Dr. Kim. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we'll pause a moment and then we'll continue with testimony and questions and comments. There will be some DOE staff still here
That's
to take
great.
some additional notes. And then again, please feel free to leave your contact information
Thank you.
with Johanna.
Appreciate it. Thank you
So
so much.
we'll restart in just a moment. Thanks, everybody. All right, thank you, everybody. Apologize for the delay and the pause in the meeting. We still have a little bit of we still have some people to testify. We definitely want them to come up and please testify. So apologies for the wait, but love to hear.
Okay. Hi, I'm Loida Valentine, head of PTA at Chloe Day School. My son is not special needs, but I do have an autistic brother in California. And what I'd like to say is, while children are in the process of receiving services or waiting, the children are still in class in a school community. And without it can be challenging for students to and families to interact with children with special needs without having the proper tools. So I think if teachers also and aides also have training, it could also help families and students in the class be more accepting, because that could help model the behavior of the children. And it could also help be more of an inclusive environment for that student. So as a parent, as a sister of someone who has autism, I really do think it's helpful to build that community. And if there's any ways to have more training for teachers and to help model and create that environment for students, that would make a multitude of difference. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else to testify?
You have someone online, Greta. I'm not sure if she's still there.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, thank
Hey,
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
I'll be quick and just definitely second everything that's been said so far. I am a Chloe Day parent, and my child does not have educational needs, but she does have social emotional needs that we thankfully have been able to meet at Chloe, but I think that is due to a lot of what Dr. Ganton has integrated into just the culture of Chloe Day. And what I have seen is that it has not only let her flourish as a student, but she feels safe. And so she's able to ask for help. She's learned that it's okay to ask for help, and also learned that it's okay to not be okay sometimes, which has been really, really great for her progression in learning, and then just growing into a 5-year-old that she is today. And then I also just wanted to second, in terms of having teachers and aides and even parents that have a better understanding of IEPs and special needs support, it can really do great things when we may see issues between students who require special needs and who don't require special needs, and how we can potentially step in. Because sometimes I'm in there in the morning in the classroom dropping my child off, and maybe I catch, something that's going on that if I had the knowledge to say one thing that could kind of save space and save time for the sole teacher that's there. So I know that's a whole other thing with parents, but just echoing what has been said about students learning empathy, and that can be seen and shown from teachers. I also think parents can be a part of that as well. And I just want to say thank you again for your time and all the work that you are putting into it.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we are now at the public comment portion of our meeting. Is there anyone for public comments? Okay, so before we adjourn our last special meeting of the year and our last calendar meeting, a couple of things I wanted to say. This is our last meeting for the term. We have some council members leaving. I'd like to say thank you to each and every one of them. I know we got some in person, we've got some on Zoom. It's been an honor. It's been a privilege serving with you. Your passion for our community, your passion for serving, helping students, helping families is greatly and deeply appreciated. You've gone above and beyond the normal call of duty to do what's right for the community at the expense of your own families at times, and being away from your own families to do the greater good. And you make me proud. You certainly make the city proud, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you for all you've done. So, community council members, thank you. And
Thank you, Mark. You want to mute?
Thanks.
Ready? There we go.
There we go.
There we go. And on behalf of all of New York City Public Schools and certainly the Division of Inclusive Accessible Learning and the Special Education Office, we want to thank the council. We want to thank the council members who are returning and those of you who are moving on to other activities that do not involve this once a month, all night and everything in between. And it's been a year of, I think, learning and growing for us as well, and want to thank each of you for your patience, your support, and your advocacy on behalf of students, children, and families. Carolyn, who is here with us, we have a gluten-free cake, and we would like, on behalf of folks. And for those of you who are not here, we will eat some cake for you, and please know that you have our deepest respect and admiration for all the work that you do. Thank you so much, everyone.
Do we have anything from the Spanish line interpretation?
This is a Spanish interpreter.
Anything, Spanish interpretation? Anything on your line?
¿Tenemos alguien?
I think Gus is trying to speak.
All right.
He's right here.
Okay.
She's speaking.
Unmute yourself.
Dios lo bendiga y que igual seguiré detrás de la trinchera apoyándolo aquí y siguiéndolo. Muchas gracias.
I just would like to say that I would like that you can continue supporting us and also to continue having success. And I would like to say thank you for all your support. That God bless you, and we will be here also to continue supporting you.
Thank you, Esther.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you for your service. Okay, last and not least, for Carolyn, we have a certificate of appreciation, and each of the departing council members, Rose will be mailing out your certificate of appreciation for those that weren't able to make it. And then Carolyn, we also have a plaque to say thank you for serving.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much, everybody. Oh, yes, ma'am. Does anybody want to come with me? Yeah, come on. Heather, come. She said, stand up. Come on.
Don't we all hate cameras?
Let me take a picture and start with me, Mark.
I know.
Thank you.
2 more years. Not really more years stuck on me.
You know?
I'll get the camera. You're in row.
Sorry about smelling hot today.
It's only 101. Come on now. Oh, you sly, Andy. You are sly.
I need my favorite person over here.
It's hammer time. Come on, Hammer. It's hammer time.
My favorite person.
right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, say thank you.
Thank
you.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, John.
It's you.
Don't worry, I'm still gonna be around.
It's not a bother.
Never mind. He's absolutely right.
It was a good year. It was a transition year. And I think Johanna stepped in and did a great job and.
What's that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, quickly, business really fast. You can't vote in it.
I know, I met him. We don't need to vote on dates because.
Yeah, the date's a date, so yeah. We will have to, Rose, we will have to do a bunch of date changes, though. We have a bunch of date changes we have to do for the next person, for 26, but that can be a vote later. That doesn't have to be a vote. July, August, we're fine. September, we have to do a date change because of parent-teacher conferences. Yeah. Okay. All right. Carolyn?
Yes, sir. Yes. Oh, well, we also did a collection for Miss Rose. Stand up. Stand up, Miss Rose.
So, Rose, you gotta put up with us every day. Thank you.
Right.
If
We gotta talk about them.
you did not hear that. Thank you, Rose. If you did not hear that, Rose said we gotta talk about this member reimbursement. So we tend, you're always not done with us, Ms. Rose. That's why we love you. So no, thank you, Rose. Thank you. That's from all the council members. For those that don't know, Rose keeps us in line because, well, she's got me around, so you know I'm always out of line. There you go. All right. So since we are not a quorum, we are just going to adjourn the calendar meeting, and then we are going to quickly start up the business meeting. Actually, you know what? Is there anything on the business meeting we need to do?
I don't think so.
I don't think there is anything, and since we don't have quorum, it doesn't really matter. So we'll open it up and then close it back down. I got Moises calling in. Moises, you're on the party line with the council. What's up, sir? Yeah, you got the whole council on here, so what you got?
Thank you. It was really nice what you said, and I appreciated being on the council with everyone. I learned so much, you know?
Thank you, Moises. We're gonna miss you.
Yeah, it was my daughter's prom and seeing her all prettied up. I had to make sure I took her and pick her up, and I thought it was.
Family events you cannot miss. So that's always the first thing. And everyone sacrifices so much on this, but there are some things you can't miss. You can't miss a prom. Otherwise, you'll be disowned by her. We can't have that. So, but Moises, thank you for your service. And don't be a stranger. We're still around, my friend. So, all right, Moises, you take care. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, so we're gonna adjourn the calendar, special meeting. Again, business meeting, I don't see anything. We don't have quorum, so we're gonna just scrap the business meeting. So for the community, thank you for all you do. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for fighting for what's right all the time.
Yeah, thank you
So-
so much, everyone.
Y'all take care, and our next meeting is on July 17th. So there'll be a new term starting July 17th. Thank you, everybody. Take care. That's it, Rose.
Thank you, Esther.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Hello, interpreters checking in.